Good morning. It's time for another episode of the Coffee Chat Show. How is everybody this morning? We'll let everyone catch up with the fact there goes the notifications that we are live and online. How is everybody this morning? I have a cat that's not feeling well, so I'm listening because my husband's up there on cat watch. Okay, so good morning, everybody. It is raining. It snowed last night in Vermont. I am feeling it's April 1st. It's the beginning of second quarter. My question this morning is, how much fun are you having in your life? That's a good place for us to start this morning. How much fun do you have on a daily basis? How much fun are you having? Or how much of what's happening is you worrying about either something that happened or something that could happen, or just worrying in general? I'm going to remember to start our podcast here because I never remember to do that. How much fun are you having on a daily basis? How much fun are you having? Are you having any at all? Is anyone having any fun? Or are we just fraught up with worrying about things or being stressed and concerned? And the more that I dig into happiness, as studying happiness, the more I dig into that, the more I find out that it's your relationships, right? So Harvard has this 85-year-long study that they're doing, and they published a book recently called The Good Life, and the professors have done a bunch of podcasts on it and a couple of TED Talks. And the overall finding, if they were asked to give us kind of a window into what makes a good life, it's your relationships. And that doesn't mean your romantic relationships, it just means your relationships in general. So then one has to ask oneself, how am I taking care of my relationships? And then I have to ask, how much fun am I having? How much fun are you having? How much of your daily routine is fun for you, and how much of it is a chore, or how much of it is a worry, or how much of it is not fun? When you stop and ask yourself, what shape are my relationships in? Your friendships, things like that. Are you taking time to cultivate those? Are you taking time for people? Are you spending time with people? Are you reaching out to people? Are you having fun with people? Or do you just wake up starting into what you're worried about, or what needs to be done, or what the stressors are for the day and all of that? Like, how much of your life is not fun? I bet if you all asked yourselves that question, you might be surprised if you really stop and asked how much fun you are having, what the answer might be to that. Good morning, Janet. One of the things that helps you wake up and get excited about your life is to have some kind of a vision for your future. And I was surprised this week. I talked to a bunch of people. Part of what I do is for work is behavioral analysis using DISC. And then I talk to people about what they see from their assessments, and how they feel about what they see. And so I asked some of the people, what would be some goals that you have, or what's a vision for your future? And I am stunned. I guess I don't realize this because I'm not normal. My mom was a coach, and you guys know this, and a trainer, and so I didn't experience a normal childhood. So I've always been asked, like, what's my vision for the future, and I'm trained to think that way, and I forget that most people aren't. And so when I ask people, like, what's your vision, and a lot of people couldn't answer me. The 4 or 5 people that I spoke to this week, they told me they didn't know what they wanted. And my answer to that was, okay, well, we definitely can't get you from point A to point B unless you can language what it is that you want. Good morning, Dolly. Good morning, Andrea. If you don't know what you want, you're just going to sit where you are, and it's going to be the same, and you're going to wake up 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and it's going to be the same, or it's going to be worse because you didn't do anything to push yourself forward into the future. So last week we talked about a 10-year vision, which I get is a lot for people that don't even know, that can't even answer the question, what do you want? So maybe we backtrack and just go back to the question called, what do you want? Melanie says she's had to teach herself to dream. I didn't realize until this week when I spoke to all these people that most people don't think like this. And that's where I can be of service, right? Because I am trained to think like this. And so I can keep talking to you and try to open up possibility for you and open new ways for you to think about things. Lee says she doesn't know what she wants because she feels stuck. Okay, so then my response to that, Lee, would be, if you didn't think about where you are right now and you just thought about where you wanted to be a year from now, what you wanted to see, what if you had a blank piece of paper, what would that look like for you? What would that look like for you? Would you live in the same place? Would you work at the same job? Would you have different friends? Would you drive a different car? Would you wear something different every day? Would you carry yourself differently? If you can't dream of how you want it to be, we can't get you there. If you can't at least see it in your mind's eye and open up the possibilities that anything could happen, I don't care how good of a coach or trainer I am, I can't get you there. If you can't envision it, if I can't help you to see it, if other coaches and trainers and people that you listen to in podcasts and books, if we all can't help you to visualize it and language it and write it down, there's really no hope of getting you there. So, excuse me, that would be your first step, to be able to say, what do you want? When I say, what do you want? You have an answer to that. And then I go back to my question. How much fun are you having? Life is not supposed to be unfun. Good morning, Lynn Marie. Life is not supposed to be, I'm not going to say it's not hard. And in hard, I mean it like you always want to be growing and stretching. So some people think that's hard, right? Because you don't ever want to just sit in being comfortable, because that means you're not growing. However, the growing and stretching doesn't have to be awful. It could be fun that you're learning something new, or it could be fun that you're uncomfortable where you're sitting right now because you're stretching into something new. I am very uncomfortable right now in my life because I want to take things, and I talked to you guys about this last week, I want to take my business, what I'm doing, in a different direction, in a bigger, I want to do more of teaching communication and teaching how to use happiness as a tool, and I want to do that with professional people as a coach, and I want to do that in companies working with teams. And so I want to do more of that and less of the kind of management things that I do in my wearing my consulting hat. And so with all that stretching, I'm doing these live events that I'm putting on, and I'm spending a lot of money on marketing stuff that I'm just going to give away, and I don't really know what my philosophy is always throw enough shit at the wall and see what sticks. And so that's very much what I'm sitting in. And I find myself every day just uncomfortable with all of that. And then when I ask myself the same questions that I'm asking you, how much fun am I having? My answer right now would be probably not enough. Missy's reminding us that God wants us to enjoy every day. It's true. It's true. And when you think, I'm not going to get into the news of the week because, I don't want to focus on all that. However, I'm sure you're all very aware of all the news that, all the things that happen on a weekly basis, right? And things that happen this week in different parts of the country. And I have to say, making the most of every day is important. Finding joy in every day is important. And as I step out to talk more about happiness, I keep telling you, it's not the things that are going to bring you the happiness. It is you deciding to be happy and joyful in every moment that is going to bring the things for you to be happy about. It is what you focus on every day and what you choose to turn your attention to and what you choose to talk about and think about. That's what dictates what comes your way. And so you could just choose to be happy just because. You could choose to start focusing on what's right instead of what's wrong. Right? You know the famous quote by Wayne Dyer that I say all the time: when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. How much fun are you having? How much fun did you have yesterday? How much fun did you have last Monday? How much fun have you had this week? If you looked back at the week, would you say, that was a great week, I had a great time, I had a lot of fun? Or would you say it was just a typical week? Or would you say there was a lot of stuff in there and I was, there's this to complain about and I'm worried about this and I'm concerned about that and I'm all that, right? What if you just came from a place where, it all turns out? What if we all did? What if we just woke up in the morning and we changed that rhetoric and we made ourselves a sign to stick on the bathroom mirror that said, it all turns out. Enjoy the moment. Imagine what that might be like. Imagine if every time your mind tries to tell you what its lists of grievances are, imagine if you just said, it all turns out. It all turns out at the end. It all turns out. It all works out. I've been really thinking about that this morning because that's like the last piece of my personal practice as I step out more to teach happiness as a tool, and as I talk more about that it is choosing to be happy and deciding to be happy just because, and then everything else takes care of itself. There's my husband reminding you, no matter what the day looks like, to apply some happiness time. What if you woke up in all that, in that space? Angie says she has all those concerns, but she's a pretty happy person. I'm a pretty happy person too. It's just that I notice when I wake up my mind wants to start with the litany of grievances or concerns. And I'm really wondering, or I'm really working on not even allowing those in, like just waking up and starting with, I made a little coaching corner video for you guys earlier this week and talked about a mantra, like what's your mantra? Every day in every way things are getting better and better, or God is in control, or whatever it is. Personally, I've been working with God is in control. I said to my husband this morning, like, what if I just, every time a worry or concern tries to come in my head, what if I just remind myself that God is in control? So I work with the index card tool. I think it's time to make a new set of index cards, and I might even need to make a couple of sets so that when I get out of bed in the morning, I just grab them, and before I even allow myself to think anything, I just flip through the narrative that I want to have rather than the rhetoric that is existing in my head at the moment. I think if you could think about what do you want, and you could language what your vision for the future might look like for yourself, it's easier to transition into a more positive mantra or a more positive rhetoric, because you're coming from, I keep telling you, your vision will pull you forward into the future, right? That's the beauty of having a vision, is when you are feeling crappy, you go to the vision, and it gets you excited about what could be. Hi Rosie, my sister-in-law is watching us. Good morning. So what do you want? What do you want for yourself? What is your vision? If you can't think out a year, because maybe that's too much for some of you, and maybe the 10-year thing is way too much for some of you. So what about the next quarter? It's the beginning of second quarter, right? Tracy's daffodils are up. Okay, I'm kind of jealous because we got snow last night, and so it's a little depressing here this morning. It'll be gone probably by the end of the day, but welcome to spring in Vermont. It's supposed to be 60 degrees later today and rainy, and last night it snowed. I think it's easier to transition into happiness on a consistent basis when it's sunny outside. Although my friend Paula brought me some beautiful tulips yesterday, and then we bought another bunch. So there are tulips in the house, which are very pretty. And of course, Easter, you guys, is coming up, which is the time of resurrection and rebirth and thinking, and seeing the miracle of everything and capturing that resurrection spirit. Catherine Ponder calls it the resurrection energy, the energy that shows us that anything is possible. Anything is possible. Anything is possible if you can, provided that you can do the work and train your brain to think in a different way. As I dig further into this happiness stuff, when you start to look at things differently, you train your brain to see things differently, and your reality actually begins to shift. And this is scientific studies. This is scientifically proven that they are digging into these kinds of things. Now, Dolly, I'm going to challenge you, because that was Mom's problem. She turned 70 and she couldn't tell me what her vision of the future was. And look what happened. So Dolly is a good friend of my mom's and a good family friend, and she's watching right now. So I'm going to say, I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 80 or 90. You can live as long as you want, and you can have a vision for the future. Dolly, you can have a vision for the next 10 years. There's no reason you can't live to be 100. What do you want to get done? What do you want to see happen? Age is just a number, man. What matters is what you want to have happen. I am literally learning as I study this stuff that your brain doesn't have to get old. It's just not accurate what the mass culture would have you believe. Your brain gets old because you stop learning new things and you stop training it to think in a different way, and you stop pushing yourself to expand. This is why a growth plan is so important. You don't have to get old. I mean, you're going to age, of course, but you can control how that works by what you eat and what you put in your body, and if you're exercising, and what you're thinking, and what you're studying. And if you are studying anything new, or you are trying to expand your horizons and possibilities. Personally, I'm going to live to be like 100 and at least 105. We'll see how it goes at 105. But I have a lot to do. I'm 55, so I have 50 years. I have like a whole life that I'm embarking on, kind of part 2, right? I will be 55 this year, the speed limit. I'm not sure how that happened. but it's happening. It's happening. And I was reading this John Maxwell communication book that he just published. And you guys know I got John Maxwell certified. And so I'm reading this book, and he's saying, like, what are the things that happen to you in your lifetime? And what are your biggest, things that you've overcome or learned that you can share with other people? And so if you ask me what is the biggest contribution that I could be to all of you with whatever I could teach you, it would be that anything is possible and possibility exists. And then you have to do the work. First, you have to be open to what's possible. And anything is possible. And then you have to be able to language that for yourself. You have to be able to put that into a deliverable, like that you want the universe to deliver what? What do you want? I've been asking this question to you guys for 2 years, and I'm telling you, I was amazed when I spoke to some people this week, and I asked them what their vision was for themselves, or what they wanted, and they couldn't answer the question for me. So that's the first place to start. We've got the book Atomic Habits, and I'm flipping through that, and it's just like, before we can talk about really making a new habit, we have to decide, where are you going? Where are you going? And then my question is, how much fun are you having? Because if where we're going to take you, you look at it like it's a hideous experience or an extremely hard thing to have happen, and it's not going to be any fun, then what the hell's the point of that? Personal development and self-awareness, it can be fun. It can be fun for you to stretch yourself and learn something new. It doesn't have to be a chore. I would really encourage all of us, including myself, to write down on an index card, it all turns out. And start living from there this week. It's a great week leading into Easter for us to start recognizing that it all turns out. And maybe some of you are religious and maybe some of you aren't, but of course the resurrection story, either way, shows you that it all turns out. It all turns out. No matter what it looks like, it all turns out. And I know this to be true because I've seen it in my 55 years. I've seen it happen again and again. I've proven it to myself by using these principles again and again. And I'm now in a place where I am feeling uncomfortable and challenged, and I am having to remind myself it all turns out. And so I want to remind you guys of that as well. And I want to really encourage you to get a vision together of your future. If you can only think out as far as next quarter, then fine, start there. 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, however far out you can go. Answer that question for yourself. What do I want? Possibility exists everywhere. Everywhere there's possibility. When you start to think in a different way, you will train your brain to see things differently. You know how when you decide to get a particular car or you're thinking of a type of car, all of a sudden you see those cars everywhere. They were already there. It's just that now you've brought that up to consciousness, so you are seeing them. So if you start thinking that everything turns out and the money always comes and everything always gets solved, you will start to see the solutions. In lots of cases, the solutions already exist. You just can't see them because you haven't expanded your vision or expanded your mind to be able to see them. So let's start thinking this week from those places and those constructs. Everything turns out. Everything turns out. It all works out in the end. Possibility exists. All right, I think I'm going to leave it there. So as always, you can visit us at thecoffeechatshow.com. You can also visit me at applyhappiness.com. You can go over on Facebook and join me on my business page at applyinghappiness.com. And on Instagram and Twitter, we are Apply Happiness. So visit us there. You're going to start to see me do more things there. If you are in Vermont or you are in Boston, we still have spaces in both of the happiness events, which are free. You can find them under the events section on the Applying Happiness Facebook page. Or you can email me and I can give you the registration link for those events. So again, if you're in the Boston, Massachusetts, Dedham area, May 20th is our event there. And our event here in Essex, Vermont is April 19th in the evening. Red Betty says she's 3 days no smoking. That's awesome. Congratulations. All right. So you guys have a great week. Really think about this for yourself. What do you want? That's the first question that has to be answered. What do you want? All right. I'm going to say goodbye to our podcast folks. All right. And then Facebook fam, I'll see you on Holy Saturday, which is next Saturday morning. Okay. Have a great week.